What is up, boys and girls? So, today is update time. Update on the van build and looking at what angle I'm going, where I've got to. I haven't done much and I haven't recorded any of it. I know I really should, but I just haven't had time. Basically, I've only got a few hours in on this car. So, let me show you where we are. Now, someone's asked about how it keeps spinning round. So what I'm going to do from now on is me turning. I'm going to cut it out. So you'll go from this to this, okay? So, because I know it does made anyway, because I always seem to spin round the longest possible way, don't I? So, the car. This is the front end that's going to be used on the car. And it's about set where it needs to be in relation to the rear arch. So, from there, I found out where the engine needs to be using this one. So we know this all works. There's bits I don't like, bits I do like. Most of it I like, it works. So we've gone for the same, which is this coil. It's basically in the middle of the car. Yeah. Now the engine's a little bit more set that side, same as in the Busa. The engine's offset. But that's to get the drive shafts a little bit better lengthwise. But with this one, you've got to remember the turbo, and that's going to be on this side. So that will help offset some more of the weight that we don't have in Big Blue. Yeah? So that's why the engine's where it is. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just take the front off. Yeah? Ta-da! So, engine is where it is in that car. At the minute, I've just got it jacked up on 2 bits of bar, where I took the measurements for that one. So the engine is square, set to where it needs to be. The front is still, it's pretty close. It's to within half a degree of the angle of that one, because the front's held up by this. So I should put some wood under it and worked. It's close. It's very close. It needs to come up a notch touch. So that is how that engine is just sitting there. Now let's look for suspension. Now this is where it's changing a little bit on my car compared to my other one. Is not so long ago I went to a friend's who's got that K20 Mini, Special K, and I had all these arms off him. So these are longer arms, longer ties, longer billet top arms. So I'm using them, but I've cut this in there. That's actually in 2 pieces because I wanted this longer. So this is my idea. I designed these brackets, which go over the box section. And then we've got an arm. These are round to go over the tube and hold the 1/2 inch, because we do not want this breaking off here, do we? So I've just encompassed, whatever, it's gone around the tube. So that is yet to be determined on the angle of this arm in relation to, you know what I mean, the rest. Yeah, so this can go any angle really. You know what I mean? We can put this anywhere we need to. But for reasons, I am going to try and run it as square as I can. Now, anybody knows a Mini, this here runs at 6 degrees. The same as the top arm, runs at 6 degrees. Now, I am adding this into my design. So this here is set at 1.5 degrees camber. It's also set at 6 degrees caster. The top arm is set at 6 degrees anti-dive. So that bar there is giving me my 6 degrees anti-dive. Now that bar there Gotta remember, we are an inch under this bar because it's just strapped to the arm. That there should come down and meet up around the table. It's going to be tricky for anybody to see. You get me? It wants to aim for underneath the hub. So that bar needs to come down to about here. Then technically you should have one coming from just above the top of the hub, which is where this ball joint would be. One coming back. Where those two intersect is your centre of mass. Centre of mass. Your roll centre, but that way, not that way. Yeah? So that is, from what I can see, we should be around here, which is where I determine the centre of the car to be. So we shouldn't be far off. Now, is 6 degrees anti-dive enough? I don't know. If I'm honest, I've looked at a lot of information, and that is the only way people are working it out. So that has to face the bottom. But the bottom arm is always square, it's parallel. So if it's parallel and you've got 6 degrees, it's anti-dive. But if that's a 6 degrees and that's a 6 degrees, you've got no anti-dive. You know what I mean? Because originally this was going to be where the stock mini position is. Yeah? But now I might run it flat to gain that dive. But if I'm running it flat, ideally, if you look at my roll centre, there's not much roll centre. See? Which is the difference between the gap here and the gap here. Ideally, this wants to be another inch up. Then match that with the same again, inch up. Then we've got load of roll centre. You get me? Then the roll centre is from that point to that point, straight up. That point to that point, straight down. Now, you want those two lines to intersect over here somewhere, yeah? And then the same on the other side, intersect over here somewhere. Then where they intersect is your roll centre, which you want it to be up about here somewhere. But if this bottom one stays on that trajectory, and that one, it's right the way out there. So there's so many different videos on what people are doing with roll centre, scrub radius, and all this stuff, and I'm trying to get it all to work in this. So that may have to get redesigned to run higher to give me more roll centre correction, and it would also ease out that roll joint, that joint. If you look at that joint, that is unacceptable at the minute. So this is going to have to move down slightly to get a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, this play there, it still goes up. But I'd rather not run it that tight. Yeah, see what I'm doing there? So that's that. Now, scrub radius, let's talk about that. So this, all of this has been pushed out, right? The idea is to put more back space on the wheel, which helps torque steer and scrub radius. So let's have a look. Let's get a wheel down. Right, we have a wheel. This is what I run on the Hayabusa. So you've got this back space, which is like 4.5 inches. So scrub radius and torque steer. Now, a lot of people think torque steer only comes from your drive shafts. No, it doesn't. It also comes from your wheels. So normally, on a normal car, say that face and the back face of here, yeah, let's say that face there and the inside of there, that's probably about right. So the wheel is sticking out there. So, if you imagine torque steer, this is your kingpin, right? Kingpin inclination, or whatever you want to call it. So, if you draw a line between that ball joint and that ball joint and go straight to the table, yeah, it's where that shadow is. For instance, that shadow there. But the center of the wheel is here. Yeah, it's roughly where that face is. So from there to there is a massive amount of scrub radius. So what you don't want is scrub radius, because this here will give you torque steer. This amount of tyre, because it's on the outside. So when you're accelerating, this tyre is trying to pull around this point. It's trying to go, because it's not balanced on the suspension. And under braking, it's the same. It'll want to go backwards. It's the same on the other wheel. It'll want to come around, because this tyre is trying to rotate around an arc, not spin on its centre mass. So what I'm doing is I've pushed that right out with these longer arms, and then I want to move the wheel right in. So there'll basically be no outer lip. But the arm, if you think that point, you look at where our shadow is, there, we are looking about here. Yeah, and if the centre of the wheel is there, we're down to 1 inch. So don't forget that shadow there isn't the contact patch, right? The contact patch is below the table. So I mean, height, this tyre is down here. So you've still got to bring that line a bit further forward, a bit more, to meet with the contact patch of the tyre that's down here. Because that's still up high, that's down low, if you catch my drift. So I want to move this wheel as far in as I can. So there's going to be loads of backspace, virtually nothing on the front. So then this tyre will be wanting to spin around its axis, not scrub radius. Yeah? So that will help dramatically with all the boost. Can you see what I'm trying to get at? Yeah, it's a bit tricky, but that line there should meet with the centre line of the tyre. So when you look at some of the space frames out there, this here is massive. These wheels are different anyway. I had these wheels designed so I can put as much as I can on the inside. Because on that car, not that one, that car, the steering arms are out here. And it sits right next, there's probably like 5 mil between the wheel and there. So this one is going to have a bit better setup, because I managed to get all these arms off a friend, which has worked really well. So anyway, we're blabberting on here. Let's get rid of that. So now the string setup is for the Ackerman and anti-Ackerman. Yeah, that's what the string is for. Yeah, so you put a bar between your rear thingies. Well, I'll put it on the shock mounts. Find centre mass, centre point. String all the way up to your pivot point. Yeah, so you've got your 2 strings going out. Now, technically, on a normal car, this should be on that line. But the way Mini Hub is designed, it's not quite on that line. But if you run from the centre of here, straight through there, we are running at the same angle as the string. Now, it's a bit better on mine because I'm 4 inches longer. But ideally, this should normally run in line with that. Because that's Ackerman. And if this was here, that's anti-Ackerman. So Ackerman is the inside wheel turns more. Anti-Ackerman is that the outside wheel turns more, which actually gives you more grip. Because the inside wheel drags, but the outside wheel grips. So you want the outside wheel to turn more, which does turn. That's why when you look at Formula 1 cars, the front right, outside corner, well, left-hand corner, front right, turning a lot more. So technically this should help a little bit of anti-Ackerman. Because on my car, it really, you see how it scrubs off. That's the inside, that's the outside. The inside is scrubbing off because it drags the inside front tyre. That is what I'm trying to sort out. So we've got our anti-dive. We've got our scrub radius being looked at. We've got our Ackerman being looked at. We've got our caster. The camber's set. The toe at the minute is dead square. All I did to get the toe square is I've got some bars. I just pull it on. And then measured across. So we've got our toe square. So that is that. What's next? This bar at the minute is my normal steering rack bar. But my rack's not going to go where a normal steering rack goes. My rack needs to be up higher because of the diff. The diff is here. Yeah, it may look a bit familiar. And so may the diff hanger, which is here. These are borrowed parts off the booster. So what I'm going to make is this section. I'm going to replicate it. Yeah. And I'm going to make this, all this again. Not all this because I don't need it. And then this is going in this car with the same diff. Because I know it works. Yeah. So at the minute, this is just out for me to replicate the centre section and the diff. And then once the diff's in, we can start, fine tuning where stuff's going to go. But we're doing stuff, look. We're making stuff happen. I just want to get it right. Yeah, it's like bump steer. We've also got to work off bump steer. These are the straight Mondo arms. I'm doing this because on my car over there, the steering rack's high, which is where it is on there. I wanted to get this arm as high as I could because I want to run my tie rods parallel to this. Do you know what I mean? So it's perfectly lined, the same length from joint to joint. So I'm probably going to have to modify the centre of the rack. I might need extending. So my tie rod is going to be the same. Tie rod? Yeah, it's going to be the same as this. So it will run perfect. That's the plan. Yeah? So there we go. I've done nothing else to the back. It's just sat there because I just haven't had time. But that is an update on where we are. So this has got to move a little bit. I may get matted Arch Fab to make some new ones of those. Gaining an extra inch, 3/4 of an inch. But I need to finalise some dimensions first. I want to see exactly where that ball joint sits dead central. How much space I've got below this ball joint to the wheel. Because I can always make a bigger roll centre corrector. These are the CAD ones. But I can make a bigger one if I need to make a bigger one to gain roll centre. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, all this is 5/8 by the way. So yeah, this is still a bit to be undetermined. The top arms, I've put a bracket here. This is what my tube's going to attach to for that. As you can see, we are really tight on this cuss casing because this has got that big clutch in it. I was hoping to get that above, but we are not going to have a lot of movement with the tube in there. This is at ride height, but it's not going to be masses. So I think the tube's going to have to go underneath and this arm is going to have to sit on top. But, we've got to work out this angle first and make sure it's where it can be to run the best it can be. I mean, they're only cheap, so it doesn't mind if you kill them off. They're like a tenner each. But that big ball in there should easily take that kind of angle. But you just don't want to max it out. So, and then I've got to work out the framework. I brought the new die. Where is he? Here it is. So I've got a brand new 38mm die. It's got a smaller centerline radius to that one. So that was another expense. Yeah, but this tube is more than likely going to be at an angle. Yeah. So it can then come up and around somewhere, like up through. Yeah. And then it'll go back and off. And then this tube will have a tube coming off it, which will go for these. There's going to be a tube coming around. So this tube here could technically come straight through or notch into. And this side's got to be a little bit different because I've got to allow space for the manifold to come through for the turbo. So, you know, there's a lot to think about with this car. But yeah, we're getting there. Slowly. Slowly. But I will start recording it for you. I will. I've got to. Because at the minute, though, I'm just moving stuff around. So there's not much for you to see. Right, nice and slow. There you go. I'm back. Right. So that's it for now. Just an update on my car. The blue one's got to go in storage. Because otherwise I'm just going to keep nicking parts off it. I've only had the diff off it. But it's got to go. It's got to go in storage because I need the space anyway. Right. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. See you later, people.